Hey, this is Oshri with Nom Nom, and I'm so privileged to be interviewing Dr. Sanford Weissbuch today, who's dedicated his life to teaching people how to eat right to avoid chronic illness and live optimally. And I'm going to let him share a bit more about his foundation and how he got started on his journey of health and food. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks very much, Oshri. I'm very happy to give this interview to help spread information in order to help people in order to stay well and to get well, particularly in a time of a pandemic. To stay well both physically and also psychologically, mentally. I started my health journey. I was always interested in physical fitness and maintaining health. And as a teenager, I attended some wonderful nutritional lectures by a man called Paul C. Bragg, who was one of the, basically the founders of the health food movement many, many years ago. And he talked about the importance of eating whole grains, avoiding animal products, and avoiding sweetened beverages and refined carbohydrates containing sugar, flour, white flour, et cetera, et cetera. Well, with that said, the major impact was to eat healthy and especially avoiding red meat of any kind. As I got older, I then went to medical school, and I had very, very little nutritional training, but in my classes. But I always knew that there was a tremendous component missing in my teaching, and that was nutrition. The most impactful thing that occurred to me in medical school was when I told my professor that I wanted to cure people. And he said, he was an internist, and he said, well, Sanford, if you want to cure people, you better be a surgeon, because you can't cure diabetes, you can't cure cardiovascular disease, you can't cure hypertension. They're chronic, unrelenting diseases.
So they actually said these were not curable.
Not curable. That you could manage them, but you could not really cure them. And I would see elderly people that basically were cardiac cripples, diabetics, losing their vision, and at times even having to have amputations because of the sequelae of diabetes. So I chose, instead of becoming a surgeon or an internist, to be a radiologist and neuroradiologist, because of my love of mathematics and physics and the intricacies of the brain, neuroradiology. practiced that for about 20 years.
Wow.
And then I basically went into a semi-retirement, running a business. And then, and that basically afforded me the chance to actually be an important part of the growth and nurturing of my children, because otherwise the demands of being a doctor would keep me away from that. Well, my oldest daughter was at Beverly Hills High School, and one of her teachers, her theater arts teacher and choral teacher, came down with a serious disease, small bowel cancer.
Dr. Pressman.
Dr. Pressman,
yeah, I know
exactly.
him.
Dr. Pressman, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the most wonderful men around.
He was amazing. I got to work with him musically, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I really love the man.
Yeah.
And one of his ventures, or one of the things that he desperately tried in order to cure himself, was to go plant-based or to avoid animal products. Mm-hmm. And he would talk it up amongst his students, I mean, going plant-based. And my daughter said, oh, I'm thinking of just going completely plant-based myself. Mm. So I was a bit apprehensive, but when I started to investigate it, I was absolutely amazed. One, at the progress of nutrition since I had been in medical school, and two, the results of putting people that had these chronic diseases, such as diabetes, such as heart disease, on a plant-based diet. And then all of a sudden, instead of saying, Sandy, you better be a surgeon, it was, Sandy, you better get the message out to really help people. One, to prevent the chronic diseases, and two, to reverse, at least halt, improve, and even reverse some of these terrible diseases.
Yeah.
And that has become my major passion in life, you know, to help people maintain and to regain robust, vibrant, exuberant health, and not live in fear of having a heart attack running after a bus, or getting a cancer, etc.
Yeah.
So with that said, I really, really, really studied this. The research of Dean Ornish, who showed conclusively that putting a person on a plant-based diet can reverse atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, along with Caldwell Esselstyn, who also did research in reversing cardiac disease. The work of T. Colin Campbell, who showed that animal protein tends to, and excessive protein, primarily animal protein, tends to accelerate the growth of cancers. And everybody has small cancers within them, so-called occult cancers, okay? Many women have small occult breast cancers. Men have small occult prostate cancers. But if you feed yourself the wrong foods that are actually promoting the growth of these small occult tumors, then they become clinically manifest and can eventually lead to serious problems, and the worst of which is death.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at in terms of what I want to do and what I'm doing. And it's, to me, the most, teaching nutrition to people is probably the most important thing that a medical doctor or a healthcare professional can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I really resonate with that, and I appreciate. One thing I appreciate is, I know you mentioned there are people in the field who have researched the benefits of plant-based diet and what some problems animal products can cause, but at least to me, it doesn't seem mainstream yet. So it doesn't seem like most doctors have gone through the transformation and like taken enough time to maybe look at the evidence enough that this is just widespread and mainstream knowledge. So I really appreciate that about you, and that you.
Yeah, it's sad to say. I was talking to someone who graduated from one of our major medical schools in Los Angeles, and he had absolutely no inkling of the impact of nutrition on disease. I mean, just to underscore some of the work that Dean Ornish has done, in addition to his seminal work in reversing atherosclerotic cardiovascular diseases, he showed, and this is going back to Dr. Pressman, that a person on a plant-based diet, at least with reference to prostate cancer, has an 8 times greater cancer killing power than someone who's on a standard American or standard Western omnivore diet.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right. And that it was like 72% killing power versus 8%. Now, the thing is that, do you want an immunity that's going to kill 8% of existing cancers, or do you want an immunity that's robust, that's going to knock them out? And the same propensity to the increasing rates of cancer is the same problems that we now have with regards to immunity and COVID-19. And it's sad, because the fundamental problems that I see are nutritional, people that are overweight, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you consider yourself a vegan?
Okay, now a lot of people talk, are you a vegan? The problem is this: vegan is defined as a diet which contains no animal products, okay? That would include someone who just eats French fries and drinks beer. What I'm talking about is a whole food, plant-based diet that covers all the bases, all the nutritional bases. Okay, as we evolved as a great ape to our present state as a, quote, a Homo sapien, who's supposed to be the thinking ape, we as a great ape, our anatomic characteristics for the most part are that of a plant eater, a frugivore or a plant eater. However, we were exposed to about a million to 2 million years of eating animals, which tends to weaken some of our enzymatic processes. For example, short-chain omega-3 fatty acids that we find in walnuts and in flaxseed meal need to be elongated into long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, such as EPA and DHA, which are vital for neural integrity, neurotransmission. Basically, they help to make up the cell wall and the synaptic the synaptic structures, the end plates of the synapse, so that neurotransmitters pass properly. So it turns out that in a test of people that were just taking flaxseed meal and walnuts, that even in the presence of eating optimally, they weren't elongating the short chain omega-3 fatty acids into the long chain fatty acids, i.e., ergo, a supplement of long chain fatty acids, long chain omega-3 fatty acids, would be very prudent if you're going to be on a plant-based diet, as opposed to eating fish, and fish now swim in basically our lakes and our oceans are basically the sewers of civilization. They concentrate heavy metals, many chlorohydrocarbons, and also in areas of algae overgrowth, the algae contains neurotoxins which get concentrated within the fish, which can have really bad consequences. For example, there's certain lakes where there is epidemic occurrence of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, i.e. Lou Gehrig's disease. Again, possibly related to the fish that people are eating from the lake that has algae overgrowth, and the fish bioaccumulated the neurotoxin, and the people ate the fish with the neurotoxin. So in light of that, I would recommend a marine algae source of the long chain omega-3 fatty acids, instead of deriving it from fish. So,
and I'm going to put,
okay, now getting back to why.
I wanted to say real quick, I'm going to put a link to all the supplements that you recommend through this. As people are listening, they don't have to worry about writing anything down. I'll be putting it in the notes under the interview. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that even though a plant-based diet should be supplemented with several vitamins and substances like the long-chain fatty acids, in general, there is less vitamin deficiency in a plant-based diet than there is in an omnivore diet. Okay. Now, for example, vegans or plant-based people tend to need B12. And the reason why we need B12 is because in the old days, in a less than pristine and sanitary environment, we, for example, would eat well water, which had the B12. Nowadays, we chlorinate and kill off the bacteria that produce B12. Animals don't produce B12. It's from the soil, a soil bacteria that produces B12. Also, we thoroughly wash our vegetables so that the small amount of residual dirt or soil that is on them, we don't get. So if you're going to be plant-based, you definitely want to have a B12 supplement. The other thing that you want to make sure is to have an iodine supplement. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in contradistinction, an omnivore diet, the standard Western, standard American diet, is deficient in fiber, folic acid, folate, should say, iodine, magnesium. Now, magnesium is present within the chlorophyll molecule. So when you eat greens, you get your magnesium. Beautiful. Omnivore diet is low in vitamin C, low in vitamin E, which is obtained from nuts and seeds and whole grains. And both the plant-based person and the omnivore tend to be deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D is the, quote, sunshine vitamin. We synthesize it when our skin is exposed to sunlight, ultraviolet light. And it is not only a vitamin, but it's a steroid, which is now found to be important in 2,700 biochemical reactions.
Wow.
One of the most important of which is the synthesis of serotonin, the happy neurotransmitter.
Yeah.
Now, this is the issue. 70% of people are deficient in vitamin D.
Wow.
If you have dark skin, which blocks, the melanin blocks the effect of the sun, it's even less. Now, we, of course, as humans evolved in Africa, equatorial and sub-equatorial Africa. We would get as much vitamin D as we needed. And in Africa, the dark skin protected us from the other deleterious effects of too much sun. As we moved north, as humans moved north, it was so important that adequate vitamin D levels were obtained that the lighter skin was an evolutionary pressure so that people would get more vitamin D. Now, this is the problem. Dark-skinned people in higher latitudes, not equatorial Africa, not sub-equatorial, not in the tropical areas,
in North America,
the vast majority are deficient to a tremendous extent in vitamin D. 90% of dark-skinned people, as opposed to the overall population of 70% being deficient in vitamin D. And even nowadays, even light-skinned people are working indoors, wearing sunscreen, and during this period of pandemic, they're basically housebound and not getting the sunlight, which I believe is part of a contributing factor to all the psychological and mental and emotional problems that people are experiencing because of the importance of vitamin D in the synthesis of serotonin, and God knows how many other important factors related to affect and emotion and psychological well-being. So that is another key supplement that I recommend that people take, or at least get tested. And if it's low, they got to get it up. Vitamin D is also very, very, very important with regards to immune function. Again, in a time of a pandemic, it's extremely important.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about one thing you mentioned in an earlier conversation, CoQ10? There's one more supplement you mentioned, CoQ10. Yeah.
Well, CoQ10 is an electron transfer agent and one of the few molecular animal-based antioxidants. It's essential in the electron transfer processes of the citric acid cycle, which basically is how our body metabolizes sugars. It's also important in maintaining muscles, maintaining the muscles. And people that are on statins, these are a class of drugs that are given to lower cholesterol. The statins will decrease the synthesis of cholesterol, while at the same time they decrease the synthesis of CoQ10. The net result is that people are getting problems with their muscles because of that, and that in particular, people that are on statins should be prescribed CoQ10 as a help to prevent some of the muscle wasting problems that are associated with the statins.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so these are things, it seems like, maybe except for the B12, these are supplements that would be good for anyone, or things to look into for anyone, whether their diet is plant-based or not. And this kind of, you touched on it a little bit earlier. We're talking about in the time of, it being the time of pandemic. And can you tell me and speak to a little bit about what we can do to strengthen our immune systems at this time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this to me, the need for nutritional protocols, or the need to let people know how important it is to eat properly in order that you have both a strong and robust immune system, while at the same time not having a inflammatory response that's going to get out of hand. Okay. Now there's a list of foods. We mentioned vitamin D as being very important for the immune system and mental health. So that's already been said. The most important thing that people can eat in order to have a strong and robust immune system is green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables in particular. And what are those? Things like kale, watercress, cabbage, arugula, broccoli, cauliflower. And it's best to have these raw, okay? The reason why you want to have them raw is because within the cell wall of the plant, there's an enzyme called myrosinase. Within the cytoplasm of the cell, there's a substance called glucosinolates. When you crush them raw, you have the active myrosinase enzyme, And it's then able to process the glucosinolates into a class of substances that are called isothiocyanates. One of the most common ones is called sulforaphane, which is a isothiocyanate mainly seen in broccoli. It's also seen in broccoli sprouts and in Brussels sprouts. What the isothiocyanates do is they enter the cell and they begin to upregulate. They initiate a sequence of events. One of the agents is called NRF2, but so that this sequence of events leads to an upregulation of a panel of genes called the antioxidant response element, which increases the synthesis of DNA repair enzymes and DNA and antioxidant enzymes. Mm-hmm. And it also creates an environment or stimulates the immune system. Okay. Now, while at the same time, the same compound, isothiocyanate, also downregulates the inflammatory response. This is the problem with COVID-19, with a out of whack inflammatory response, so-called cytokine storm. And by eating green leafy vegetables, particular cruciferous vegetables, you're able to have a strong immune system, a robust immune system, and maintain control of the inflammatory response. What more do you want? Other things that are helpful to eat during this time and all times for health and for immunity are berries. Berries contain a compound called anthocyanins, which are basically the pigment, the purple pigment, the red pigment that you see in blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, also some of these other exotic berries. Mm-hmm. For example, Chinese gooseberry, which is commonly known as kiwi. All of these are very helpful in DNA repair. The anthocyanins actually are helpful in protecting the short-term memory centers of the hippocampus. And they also, the anthocyanins, at least it's been documented, the anthocyanins from blueberries have been shown to increase the number of natural killer cells, which are our first line of defense against viral and bacterial infection. Now, going back to the cruciferous vegetables, there was one study that used a blend or a homogenate of broccoli sprouts. These are the sprouts from the seeds of broccoli, mm-hmm. which then produces a very, 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 very concentrated source of sulforaphane. It increased the number of natural killer cells 22 times.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now one of the things that, and what's so terribly lacking in our medical advisors is the knowledge of nutrition. They say, oh, well, maybe you'll get a COVID infection, but maybe it'll come back. The quality of the immune response to an infection is vitally integrated or integrated with with the nutrition of the person, you know. This has been seen. This has been seen with the immunization for pneumonia. That the pneumonia immunizations, people that are poorly nourished versus people that are better nourished. The better nourished have a much better immune response and maintain the immunity, as opposed to people that don't eat well. Now, other things that are helpful are mushrooms. It turns out that 1 cup of just this simple white button mushrooms will increase IgA, which is immunoglobulin A, or an antibody. It's a secretory antibody which protects mucosal linings of the GI tract and also the respiratory tract. It increases the presence of this immunoglobulin A, this antibody, by 50%, 1 cup, and this lasts for several days. But the idea is, well, if you have mushrooms once or twice a week, again, you're going to have a nice antibody, secretory antibody protection. The other areas, the other things that are extremely important, garlic and onions. They have tremendous antiviral properties. Again, raw garlic, raw onions.
Okay.
And there's a class of spices that are anti-inflammatory. These include turmeric, ginger, rosemary, and cloves. Strongly anti-inflammatory. Again, going back to the cytokine storm that people are seeing. But like I'll take a drink of a half a teaspoon of ginger, half a teaspoon of turmeric, and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper in water, and then a small amount of juice, maybe a 1/3 of the water is juice. And when I exercise, and I exercise intensely, maybe for 4 to 5 hours at a time, I never have any joint pain or muscle soreness, because of the anti-inflammatory nature of these incredibly powerful anti-inflammatory spices, turmeric and ginger. Now there's a couple of other spices, pepper and also cardamom, which have been shown to increase the killing power of natural killer cells. So it's a wonderful thing. And then the last thing is to make sure we have citrus. Citrus, meaning oranges, lemons, tangerines, etc. They have vitamin C and also other bioflavonoids, which are, again, very, very important in maintaining immunity and overall health. So if that message of cruciferous, of green leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables got out, for example, the American diet, the standard Western diet in general, is 30% animal products, 60% processed foods, that is, processed carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, extracted oils, etc. 60%, and 10% is quote vegetable. The vast majority of that is French fries, mashed potatoes, and ketchup. And only 2% of the American diet is green leafy vegetables or cruciferous vegetables.
You just included ketchup there, right? In that other 10%. I mean, that's
That's the catch. Now ketchup is usually over-sugared,
Yeah.
but it turns out that particularly cooked tomatoes are wonderful. They have lycopene. They're incredibly helpful and maintain prostate health. There's been some anecdotal cases where where a man actually had prostate cancer and was taking like a marinara sauce or a tomato sauce and had a complete regression of his prostate cancer.
Okay.
And it's also been shown that and this is again some work that Dean Ornish did, that men that have prostate cancer that are put on a plant-based diet can have regression of their prostate cancer. It's just it's wonderful. It's just wonderful. The power of nutrition. See, the things we have to realize is that plants evolved for billions and billions of years. They're a living biological entity. We are a living biological entity. When we eat plants, some of those phytonutrients get integrated into our body. As we evolved, we were basically as a plant eater. Our bodies became dependent on the phytonutrients, the plant nutrients, the phytochemicals, the plant chemicals. And nowadays, with the refining of grains, everything's in a box. The nutrients are extracted in order to lengthen the shelf life. The food. We're so nutrient poor, it's pathetic.
Okay, so tailing on that, and also, feeling passionate myself about this, and having, I think diet is something we constantly refine, but I know in my life, it's probably I've been vegetarian about 17 years now, and then vegan the last 8 years of that. So I'm pretty passionate about this. So if you could give a call to action to, what are some of the things you could remove from the standard American diet? If you could remove some things from the standard American diet, what would they be? Where would you start?
Okay.
Yeah.
The focus on animal products should be eliminated. Every major study, and if an epidemiologic study has any credence, or any study has any credence, it has to be done over a long period of time with large numbers, with fixed hard endpoints, i.e., thousands of people over maybe 10 to 20 years with fixed endpoints such as death, the occurrence of diabetes, stroke, et cetera, or the development of cancer. Every major epidemiologic study has shown that the more animal products that people eat, the higher occurrence, the higher incidence of cardiovascular disease, particularly atherosclerotic vascular disease, and the higher incidence of cancer. Okay, so animal products have to be de-emphasized big time. The other thing is you want to eliminate the magic secrets of the cook. And how does a cook make things delicious? Salt, sugar, and oil. Those are the addictive compounds that are used. And for anybody who thinks, oh, what a great chef this person is, it tastes so good. What you really should be saying, I wonder, is this delicious food actually nutritious and healthy? For example, to show you the concentration, the refined nature of carbohydrates, 1 teaspoon of sugar requires 3 feet of sugar cane, 3 feet of sugar cane. And it's completely, and the sugar is completely devoid of any phytonutrients or anything. Turns out in the processing of sugar cane, that one of the byproducts is molasses, which has a lot of nutrients, though there's some things that are added, so I don't recommend molasses. But it goes to show you the extent of the nutrients that have been lost in order to produce that small teaspoon of, that produce sugar.
Right.
3 feet. Could you imagine actually digesting 3 feet of sugar cane?
It'll probably be healthier than that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that 1 teaspoon. Yeah.
And then, yeah, exactly. And
Get some greens in
so
there.
Refined carbohydrates,
Yeah.
flour products, sugar products, and the combination thereof. Okay,
Yeah.
that's again. And what do you substitute from that? Whole plant foods, fruit, and vegetables. Next thing you want to completely avoid is free oils, whether it's from a seed, whether it's from olives, whether it's from nuts. When oil is extracted, it basically leaves the oil comes out, and the phytonutrients are basically thrown away. The problem with oil is when you take it into your body, it's rapidly absorbed, and it goes quickly from the lips to the hips, or to the pedunculus, which is that thing that hangs out in front with men in the hips. So, and it's really in a matter of minutes. So those are the things that really have to be avoided. Now, as a substitute, we do need to have, quote, oil, but as a substitute, what you want to eat instead of the oil, like for example, if you have a salad, I recommend like a marinara sauce, a balsamic vinegar, which has all the concentrated phytonutrients of grapes, and on the side, I have nuts and seeds, which provide me with the oil that the body needs. But the oil is tightly bound to fiber, so that the oil is not rapidly absorbed. The body then can utilize it. It can burn it. It can distribute it into those areas of the body that require it, like the brain, the lipids of the brain, the lipids in the skin, etc., as opposed to free oil, which is immediately pumped into adipose tissue, i.e. fat tissue. So those are the...
That's what you would root out. Yeah.
So instead of the free oil, you have the nuts and seeds, and the best nuts and seeds are walnuts by far, almonds, and pecans, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are very high in arginine, which helps to promote the burning of fat, actually. They're also high in zinc, which is a key element in terms of protecting cells from viral the cell wall from viral invasion. So, and people that are deficient in zinc are more likely or more vulnerable to viral infection.
Okay, so zinc, that would be, so pumpkin seeds would be another good
pumpkin seeds, and another good source of the arginine I was talking about are filberts.
I was wondering, yeah, hazelnuts. Those are hazelnuts.
Which are also called hazelnuts. Yeah. They're a very good source. Now, Nutella has got hazelnuts, but it's got lots of sugar. It's got lots of chocolate and lots of
it's like the ketchup of hazelnuts.
That's about it. Now, the other thing that I want to briefly mention is a couple things. One is potatoes. White potatoes, completely out. White potatoes are essentially like refined carbohydrate. It turns out that there is a actually increase in the inflammation in people that from eating white potatoes. Sweet potatoes have a lesser degree of inflammation, but still increase inflammation. Yams, similarly, also increase inflammation. But these small purple potatoes, that have not only purple skin or black skin, they actually have purple flesh. They have the same chemical, the anthocyanins that the berries have.
Oh, wow.
And actually decrease the inflammatory response.
And is that cooked too? Does that?
Yeah, it cooks. What I'll do is I'll take one of these small potatoes, wrap it in a wet paper towel, throw it in the microwave for a minute, slice it, and then eat it with hummus. Delicious. It's like an hors d'oeuvre.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's just really just beautiful.
Sounds healthier than potato chips.
Yeah, but again, the other thing is French fries, potatoes, etc. out. There's the more white potatoes that you eat, the more French fries that you eat, higher incidences of bowel cancer, particularly colon cancer, is associated.
Oh. Wow. Well, maybe they should start making French fries out of purple potatoes. That would be, and stop.
Well, if it's going to be in a deep fryer, that's
that alone.
I didn't mention when I talk about no free oil, it also means no frying.
Right.
And especially avoiding deep frying. Some of these fast food places have these deep frying vats, which are there for literally weeks. And if you know the chemistry of fats, fats get auto-oxidized and basically generate carcinogenic compounds, free radicals, etc. And to me, eating fried foods or deep fried foods is literally increasing your risk of having cancer and accelerating aging. So it's not good.
I'm glad I asked.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention, with regards to grapes.
Okay.
The best, again, the most important thing of berries, when I talk about berries, I'm talking about the classic berries, raspberry, strawberry, blueberries, blackberries, but also cherries and red grapes and black grapes. And again, I mentioned kiwi. The one grape that is most popular, but is essentially the white bread of grapes. It's basically a product of hybridization, etc. It's green grapes. They're the white bread of grapes. White wine, again. It doesn't have the anthocyanins, the phytonutrients, the protective compounds that are inherent in the natural grape, the red grape and the black grape. So those are a couple of caveats, you know, one, the purple potatoes, and two, that if you're going to have grapes and you say, but I like green grapes, well, just remember that you're essentially eating the white bread of the grape family, and you would do much better to have the red grapes, dark red grapes if possible, and the black grapes.
Okay, perfect. You were talking when you were talking about free oils earlier. You were talking about what happens with that in terms of weight, and for this, you know, and we are coming to our time here, but I actually think this is a huge issue. It's been a health challenge for me, for family members, which is weight. And can you speak to the most effective way to lose weight while maintaining optimal health?
Okay. Well, one of the things we have to realize is that there's three types of people. One is a mesomorph, basically has a muscular build inherently. Two is the endomorph, which tends to put on weight very, very easily and are so-called the fat people. And three is the ectomorph, which is very, very thin, okay? It turns out that there's modifications thereof that you would need for each of these. But the most effective way, okay, the triggers or the components of satiety, the factors of satiety.
Yeah.
The factors that control our appetite are, one, the nutrient quality of the food that we eat. Two, the volume of the food, the caloric density of the food. Three, the amount of calories of the food, of the meal. And four, the addictive power of the food. Okay, now, a plant-based diet is a whole food plant-based diet. It doesn't have the concentrated sugar. It doesn't have that teaspoon of sugar. It has the equivalent of the 3 feet of sugar cane. Okay? So you don't have the addictive power of the sugar. You don't have the addictive power of the free oil. Okay, you're also filling your stomach up, so the stretch receptors of the stomach are say, oh boy, I've had enough. I am stuffed.
Right.
Now if you eat chicken or Cheetos or whatever, the amount of volume that is in the stomach is relatively small. Granted, you could eat a lot of chicken, but then you're going to have a lot of calories. Now, it turns out when you have a plant-based diet, green leafy vegetables, etc., the nutrients are wonderful, very high in nutrient quality, very high in fiber and in volume. So again, you're getting both the nutrients that the body and the chemoreceptors that are present in the brain and the hypothalamus, etc. And you're getting the stretch receptors. In addition, the fiber that you eat from the green leafy vegetables, from beans, etc., get fermented by our gut microbiome, the bacteria within our gut, mainly in the colon. And they are digested and processed into short-chain fatty acids. The short-chain fatty acids, specifically acetate, as in vinegar, butyrate, and propionate. These compounds are key in suppressing appetite. They go to the hypothalamus and they say, I now am not hungry. Now, if you're eating an animal-based diet and not having the fiber, you never ever have that signal to say stop. At the same time, all the other chemoreceptors of the brain are saying, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. These nutrients. Okay. Now, the conventional ways of losing weight, as opposed to plant-based diet, are one, you can eat whatever you want, but we're going to exercise portion control. Okay. Well, the problem with that is very simple. Very poor nutrient quality to begin with. Now you're cutting down, you're decreasing the portion size, so you're decreasing the amount of nutrients, and you're decreasing the amount of food so that the stretch receptors of the stomach now are not working. Now, the other way of losing weight is, oh, well, we have the Nutrisystem. It'll speed up your metabolism. You speed up your metabolism, you generate more free radicals, which are small, in essence, are analogous to small sparks, which can create chain reaction, destruction, or damage to DNA, cross-linking of elastic tissues, etc. So the net result of accelerating metabolism can be increasing the likelihood of developing cancer and accelerating aging. Now, when you're on a plant-based diet, you have the nutrients, you have the volume. The caloric density, or the amount of calories, is less important because you're satisfying your nutrients, you're producing the short-chain fatty acids from the fiber that you're eating, and you're getting plenty of volume in your stomach. Voila. Okay, now, the difference between mesomorph, endomorph, and ectomorph. A ectomorph would want to then have more whole food plant-based foods that have higher calorie density in order to put on weight, such as potatoes, okay, and nuts and seeds, okay? So they can splurge or eat more of those. Now, an endomorph who puts on weight very readily has to focus on mainly lower calorie density foods, less nuts, but an adequate amount of nuts and seeds, lots and lots of green leafy vegetables, etc. And an endomorph and a mesomorph, the muscular person, basically can be in between the ectomorph and the endomorph in terms of what they eat. But it's just a modification of the basic whole food plant-based diet. And it's such a pity that people do not know about nutrition. They just keep on eating and eating and eating, and their body is saying, feed me nutrients, feed me fiber, and they don't know it. And I truly believe, and actually I know for a fact that much of the food industry is dead set against nutritional education in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
There should be reading, writing, arithmetic, and nutrition.
Yeah.
So we have a very healthy population. And the other thing that's so vital is that if you have a well-nourished body, you have a wonderfully nourished brain.
Mm. Yeah, I resonate.
That's exciting. I mean, people, and you're happy and robust and exuberant and you love life, and people are basically so dumbed down that they look forward to their next meal. Honey, can you bring me some more potato chips, et cetera, et cetera?
Well,
while they're watching, football or baseball or basketball or whatever.
So on that note, and I really appreciate your time and your really encyclopedic knowledge of, it's come with over 40 years in this field. And can you looking at this country right now, where we are looking at a situation where we're in the middle of the summer, we're not sure what and where and how many schools are going to be open. People are likely going to be at home a lot. People are likely going to be facing various kinds of transitions and changes in their lives in the next few months that a few months ago were just not in sight. Can you give a call to action for anyone watching this, in terms of from where you come from and what you've learned and how you've helped people? How can people make these coming months not just more months of downtrodden hardship, but as much as possible amazing months, transformational months, and months of health?
Okay. It's a matter of saying that I am a Homo sapien. I think before I put anything into my body. Is this delicious? Is this nutritious? I urge people to get away from the pasta and the white potatoes and the white bread and all the comfort stuff, and realize that stuff is actually weakening your immune system. Go to the grocery store. Go to the produce section. Pick up some kale, arugula, cabbage. Make a beautiful salad. Toss some marinara sauce on it. Toss some balsamic vinegar on it. Get the nuts and seeds to eat on the side. Small handful with every meal. Walnuts, almonds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, pecans. Those are the nuts. It will make such an unbelievable difference. Berries, the colorful fruit. That's where all these wonderful phytochemicals and antioxidants lie. But the most important of all is the green leafy vegetables, particularly the cruciferous vegetables. And again, kale, watercress, arugula, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. Now, if you're going to cook any of these, you want to chop and crush them before you cook them. Or there is one secret. You can cook the cruciferous vegetables and then add a small amount of mustard powder, because within the mustard seed, which is made from the mustard powder, which is made from the mustard seed, there is the enzyme, the myrosinase enzyme, which then can act on the heat-stable precursor substance, the glucosinolates, and you can then generate these isothiocyanates that I was talking about. The other thing, and I can mention it here, maybe is that get a NutriBullet, and toss in the vegetables, and have a green drink. And the other thing is that if you don't find it palatable, I have a tip. Add something like this, which is cinnamon apple spice tea bags. I put in 2 tea bags into my green drink and blend it along with the vegetables. And it doesn't add calories, but it makes it taste delicious. If 2 tea bags aren't enough, then you could try 3 tea bags. I'm against, or I try, I avoid smoothies that have fruit, because what happens when you have smoothies with fruit, it increases the absorbability of the sugar, so you can get a rapid insulin surge, which is what you don't want. Another caveat, and this is a question that many mothers ask, is that should I feed my kids juice, or should I just feed them soft drink? Because sugar is sugar. No, sugar is not sugar. Sugar, a soft drink is a pure sugar beverage without any associated phytonutrients. Yeah. Okay. So when the sugar is digested, when sugar is digested along the citric acid cycle, there's free radicals that are generated because there's a lot of electron transfer. It's not 100% efficient. Free radicals are generated. Now with sugar, there's no accompanying phytonutrients, there's no accompanying antioxidants. So what happens is it's sort of like running your engine without any coolant, or without any oil. Now, when you eat a fruit juice, and I always dilute my fruit juice usually by 2/3 water. So you don't get a big surge. And I really recommend that, because some of these fruit juices like 150 calories for 8 ounces, whatever. So you dilute it and they taste just as good, but the fruit juice has the natural phytochemicals, the antioxidants, etc. So when the sugar is being digested along the citric acid cycle, when the free radicals occur, the free radicals are quenched by the antioxidants and phytonutrients. And some of the phytonutrients also upregulate antioxidant enzymes. Now, it turns out that an antioxidant is sort of like a mini fire extinguisher that can basically quench those small sparks called free radicals. A antioxidant enzyme is like a fire truck. It can quench literally hundreds of thousands of free radicals per second. Okay. The body has antioxidant enzyme protection from glutathione peroxidase, catalase, and superoxide dismutase. And by eating a whole food plant-based diet and certain compounds like turmeric, lemon balm, some of these enzymes, these antioxidant enzymes, are upregulated to the point where when free radicals are generated, they're quenched immediately. Okay, now, if they're unquenched, again, they can lead to DNA damage and to accelerated DNA damage, which can result in cancers and accelerated aging. So if all you men and women who want to stay young and vibrant and exuberant, forget the Danish, forget the sweet roll. Get yourself some good berries and green leafy vegetables in your body, raw.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow, thank you so much.
It really is a pleasure, and I'll tell you, to the audience, please forgive me for my passion and my exuberance, but
No.
I always begin a talk by saying, I hope that it is enlightening, I hope that it is inspiring, and I hope that it is life-changing. Life is a one-time shot. And don't throw it away. And people now are throwing literally 20 to 40 years of vibrant, exuberant life away by eating wrong.
Wow. I'm going to put your contact information will be in the notes to the video if people want to get in touch with you and converse.
For those people who want a new lease on life, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. And it literally brings tears to my eyes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashri.